Beyond the flashing lights of the red carpet lies a darker reality. The entertainment industry is not what it seems, often shrouded in secrecy, hiding the unsavory truths about the celebrities we idolize. But get ready, because in this video, we'll uncover unflattering secrets about your favorite stars that will make you rethink their goodness. Number 10. John Wayne. John Wayne had a reputation for carrying himself with pride and an inflated ego. His confidence allowed him to share his unapologetic opinions, which often sparked controversy during his reign as Hollywood's golden boy. Being the Republican he was, his views on life were rather conservative and sometimes even considered evil. Such was the case when he showed himself as an avid supporter of the war in Vietnam. Wayne's patriotism also led him to be in tune with the speeches from the House Un-American Activities Committee, which investigated disloyalty and rebel activities on the part of citizens and even organizations. It is also well documented that Wayne cheated on his wife multiple times, causing her a lot of suffering. A man who cheats on his wife has no morals or values, just pure evilness. His conservative views and outspoken nature rubbed many of his peers the wrong way. He believed that African Americans were not educated enough to lead the country, and as for Native Americans, he thought of them as savages who didn't deserve to stay alive. One colleague who particularly disliked him was Clark Gable. The two stars crossed paths on the set of John Ford's 1953 film Mambo, but what was supposed to be a collaborative experience quickly became contentious. But that wasn't the only time he had a problem with a public figure. During the 1973 Oscars, Wayne got up on the stage to physically assault Sachin Littlefeather, a Native American representative who came forward to talk about Hollywood's unfair portrayal of their culture on behalf of Marlon Brando. Wayne was furious with the speech and had to be taken down by 6 security men. Number 9. Kirk Douglas. Kirk Douglas was the son of Russian Jewish immigrants who went on to become a legendary actor, producer, and even advocate for artistic freedom, making him a true testament to the American dream, where humble beginnings can lead to iconic success. However, following his death, a different narrative emerged. Some allegations of intimate misconduct against Douglas surfaced, casting a shadow on his legacy. According to the rumors, Douglas forced Hollywood actress Natalie Wood to do something she didn't want to do. In the 1950s at the Chateau Marmont, at that time, Natalie was only 15, while Douglas was 30, and allegedly warned her against speaking out. Lana, Natalie's sister, was the one exposing everything in her memoir. Apparently, Natalie was brought to Douglas's suite. Later, she told her sister that's where he hurt her. The veracity of these allegations remains unconfirmed, but if proven true, it would be impossible to see Douglas in a good way anymore. Number 8. Mickey Rooney. Mickey Rooney's wholesome on-screen persona, which earned him 4 Academy Award nominations and a place in the hearts of audiences worldwide, belied a darker reality. Behind the scenes, Rooney struggled with addiction from taking illegal substances, and allegations of inappropriate behavior on set have tarnished his legacy. Rooney's reputation was marked by a staggering lack of empathy, as evidenced by his treatment of co-stars and colleagues. He was known to be blisteringly bombastic, abrasive, and nasty, with a tongue that could cut like a knife. His cruel remarks about Elizabeth Taylor, whom he worked with on National Velvet, are particularly egregious, labeling her as entitled and lacking talent. Despite his iconic performances in films like the Andy Hardy series and Babes in Arms, Rooney's legacy is marred by his dark deeds. Number 7. Elizabeth Taylor. The tumultuous tale of Elizabeth Taylor's love affair with Eddie Fisher in the late 1950s is a Hollywood story that continues to fascinate. But why? Fisher was initially the best man at Taylor's 3rd wedding to producer Mike Todd, who tragically passed away just before the ceremony. Meanwhile, Fisher was married to actress Debbie Reynolds, with whom Taylor had a long-standing friendship dating back to their teenage years. As Taylor navigated the complexities of her grief and her marriage, she found solace in Fisher's arms. The affair, which unfolded amidst the glamour of Hollywood's golden age, sent shockwaves through the industry. While Taylor and Reynolds weathered the storm, Fisher faced the brunt of public outrage and professional consequences. The affair had a devastating impact on Fisher's career, with contracts being canceled due to morality clauses. His son, Todd Fisher, recalled the aftermath, stating that his father's romantic life literally ruined his career and wiped him out. Fisher's struggles with drug consumption only added to his challenges. In hindsight, he acknowledged the overwhelming effect of his romantic entanglement entanglement. Naturally, this left Taylor in the eyes of many as an evil woman who didn't have values. Number 6. Errol Flynn. Errol Flynn was a man's man, renowned for his bold exploits and camaraderie with his male companions. He reveled in activities typically associated with masculinity, such as sailing and imbibing, which were an integral part of his carefree existence. By the mid-1930s, Flynn had solidified his status as a swashbuckling heartthrob, starring in films like Captain Blood and sharing his life with the fiery Lili Damita. The charismatic actor often boasted about his virility, declaring himself a phallic symbol and flaunting his conquests. It was said that at certain social gatherings, he would even treat his friends to impromptu piano performances using his own male organ. However, in 1943, Flynn's wanton behavior finally caught up with him. He faced charges of statutory R involving two 17-year-old girls. While he claimed to have engaged in a consensual encounter with Peggy Satterlee, he maintained he barely knew Betty Hansen. With a wink, he quipped, "Who asks a potential romantic interest to produce their birth certificate or driver's license?" He argued that it was common knowledge that the girls had initiated the encounters, regardless of whether or not he had indulged in his notorious ways with them. Despite being acquitted, Flynn's actions did not deter him from continuing his libertine lifestyle. In his memoirs, he reflected on the experience, confessing that though he may have been guilty under the law, in the world of everyday practicality, everyone knew the girls had asked for it. This self-serving rationalization underscored the persistent problem of entitlement and lack of accountability that defined Flynn's life. Number 5. Jerry Lewis. Jerry's illustrious career in comedy spanned nearly 8 decades, leaving behind a legacy of iconic films like Parachute Against the Will, Dead in Fear, Enjoy Life, Jerry, Jerry and the Circus, and many more. But behind the laughter and applause, his personal life was marked by turmoil and controversy. Jerry's 2 marriages produced 7 children, but his relationships were marred by infidelity. His first marriage to singer Patty Palmer lasted 36 years, during which he had 6 sons and an adopted daughter. However, Patty tolerated his numerous affairs, which he often incorporated into his comedy routines. The marriage finally ended in 1980, with Jerry using his humor to mask the pain and shame. The comedian's personal life became a tabloid sensation when he fathered an illegitimate daughter, Susan Minor, with model Lynn Dixon in 1952. He refused to acknowledge her publicly, leading to a long-standing family feud. There was no doubt that living with Jerry was difficult. Kim, his ex-wife, said that. There were times where he would shut all the blinds in the house and sleep for days. Tragedy struck again when his youngest son, Joseph Christopher, died of a drug overdose at 45. What made the situation even more heartbreaking was that Jerry had abandoned him long before his death. Despite having a net worth of millions, Jerry chose not to help his son financially or emotionally. Joseph lived in poverty, relying on public shelters and food banks for survival. The family claimed that Joseph's death was a direct result of his broken heart, exacerbated by his father's rejection and neglect. The comedian's refusal to take responsibility for his actions as a father was a devastating blow to his children. Instead of having an open conversation with them after his divorce from Patty, Jerry simply showed them the newspaper headlines announcing the split. For Joseph, growing up with Jerry as a father was a nightmarish experience. The comedian's inability to be a positive influence in his life led to a downward spiral of addiction and ultimately tragedy. As we look back on Jerry's remarkable career, it's hard not to wonder how different things might have been if he had been a better husband and father. Number 4, James Dean. James Dean, the legendary actor behind iconic films like Rebel Without a Cause, is often celebrated as a symbol of youthful rebellion and nonconformity. However, beneath the surface of his stoic on-screen presence lay a tumultuous personality that left many in his wake questioning the adoration he received. According to biographer Donald Spoto, Dean's off-screen behavior was marked by excessive rudeness, foul language, and unprofessionalism, earning him the disdain of many co-stars. Dean's brief stint on Broadway in productions like See the Jaguar and the Immortalist was marred by tales of uncooperativeness and moodiness. Robert Mann, the press representative for the Immortalist, didn't mince words when describing James Dean. He was the most uncooperative, moodiest, and most offensive actor I've ever worked with. Even Rock Hudson, who shared the screen with Dean and Giant, found him challenging to be around. Hudson recalled that Dean was hard to be around. He never smiled, was sulky, and had no manners. Despite these anecdotes, Dean's enigmatic persona, marked by rebellion and an untimely death at 24, has garnered an immense cult following. Novels, plays, and songs like the Beach Boys' A Young Man Is Gone have romanticized his life. Not every portrayal has been adoring, however. In 1993, conservative columnist George Will laid blame on Dean, attributing the youthful unrest of the 1960s to his film personality. Will argued that Dean played himself as a mumbling, arrested development adolescent who felt sorry for himself as a victim of insensitive parents. However, Dean's complexity extended beyond the surly rebel image. He was also creative, intellectually curious, and ambitious, but also manipulative and selfish. Accounts from actors who worked with him reveal a less glamorous side of Dean. Vaughn Taylor, an actor who collaborated with Dean on TV projects, recalled decades later that Dean's vulgar, self-congratulatory, and rude behavior caused chaos on set, disrupting other actors' performances and infuriating directors. Number 3. Orson Welles. In the 1980s, Orson Welles' reputation as a rebellious iconoclast was cemented during a chance encounter with Richard Burton. The actor, known for his warm demeanor, extended a friendly greeting to Welles, hoping to introduce him to Elizabeth Taylor. But Welles, engrossed in his lunch, responded with a curt no, and when his dining companion pressed for an explanation, he nonchalantly replied, "Tell him to F himself." This audacious attitude was quintessentially Welles, a man who spent his life challenging authority and ruffling feathers in the film industry. Welles' tumultuous career was marked by numerous abandoned projects, clashes with producers and directors, and a reputation for being difficult to work with. He often found fault with those who held the power to shape his career, including advertisers who paid him handsomely for his voiceover work. One notable example is his long-standing feud with William Randolph Hearst, the media mogul who financed his film Citizen Kane. Welles' own masterpiece was frequently downplayed by him, once describing it as a dollar book asterisk Freudian slip. Throughout his life, Welles' acerbic wit and sharp tongue earned him both admiration and enemies. His candid conversations, transcribed in the years leading up to his death in 1985, offer a glimpse into his unfiltered commentary on the film industry and its stars. Marlon Brando's physique was likened to a huge sausage, while Elizabeth Taylor's appearance was met with disdain. Even esteemed actors like Humphrey Bogart and Bette Davis were not immune to his biting critiques. Bogart, known for his bravery on screen, was dismissed by Welles as a coward who only picked fights when well covered. Welles' caustic remarks often targeted those he perceived as pretentious or self-important. He once quipped that Marlene Dietrich's acting style was a series of nervous tics and described Charlie Chaplin as a tiny little Napoleon. His biting wit was legendary, and many who crossed paths with him left with a lasting impression of his sharp tongue and irreverent humor. Number 2. Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando, the legendary actor who captivated audiences with his powerful performances, has been revealed to have left a trail of pain and suffering in his wake. Rita Moreno, a renowned actress and Brando's former partner, has shared her harrowing account of their tumultuous relationship, which spanned nearly a decade. In an interview for the Actors on Actors series with Jessica Chastain, Moreno recounted the toxic dynamics that drove her to contemplate suicide and the shocking moments of mistreatment at Brando's hands. Despite the thrill of being with a Hollywood icon, Moreno described the emotional mistreatment she endured at Brando's behest. She recalled how he would often leave her feeling belittled and humiliated, pushing her to the brink of despair. Moreno's candid admission also revealed a disturbing instance where she attempted to take pills at Brando's house, struggling to cope with the emotional toll of their relationship. This troubling portrayal of Brando's behavior is not an isolated incident. Maria Schneider, his co-star in Last Tango Tango in Paris, has also spoken out about feeling violated and humiliated during the filming of the movie. These accounts raise serious questions about Brando's treatment of women both on and off screen. Brando's complex life was marked by personal tragedy and trauma, but this does not absolve him of his responsibility for mistreating women. Number 1. Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin, the iconic silent film star and comedic genius, hid a dark secret behind his charming on-screen persona. Beneath his innocent-looking face and childlike antics, Chaplin was a calculating individual who exploited his power and fame to manipulate young women, using them for their youth and fertility. His first marriage to 16-year-old Mildred Harris was a calculated move to avoid prosecution for engaging in unholy activities with a minor. When she gave birth to their son Norman, Chaplin soon lost interest and began an affair with 15-year-old Lita Gray, whom he eventually married after she became pregnant. His second wife bore him 2 sons, but when she failed to provide him with an heir, Chaplin quickly grew tired of her and moved on. It was his third wife, Paulette Goddard, who bore him the most children, 8 in total, but at what cost? Chaplin's obsession with youth and fertility led him to prey on other young women, including 17-year-old Una O'Neill, whom he married at the age of 54. Una bore him 8 children. Chaplin's relationships with his wives were marked by cruelty and exploitation. He would often flaunt his young lovers in front of his guests, beaming with pride at his own prowess. His last child was born when he was 73 years old, and it's unclear how much involvement he had in their upbringing. Chaplin's widow, Una, suffered from depression and died of alcoholism just 14 years after his passing. She was the only one of his wives to remain with him until the end of his life, largely due to the numerous children they had together. Her life was marked by tragedy and heartache, never having had a childhood of her own. The recurring theme in Chaplin's life was his ability to seduce young women barely out of their teenage years, spending the finest years of their lives with him before discarding them like used tissues. It's a pattern that speaks to a deep-seated insecurity and desperation for youth and beauty. While Chaplin left behind a legacy of cinematic masterpieces, his personal life is a darker tale of exploitation and manipulation that serves as a cautionary reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and celebrity. Which Hollywood star do you think was the most evil? Leave it in the comment section. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe for more upcoming content, and ring the notification bell to stay tuned for future updates.